The next update for Last Day on Earth is hopefully pretty close, but let's talk about a recent Last Day on Earth post from Kefir, talking a little bit about it, giving us a few additional details. In addition, we're going to jump in and talk about how you can best prepare, some things that you might want to be thinking about, a little bit for what we know, as well as what we're picking up here in this newest information related to the Survivor's Path. Let's jump in. Okay, so Headbanger Jim, giving you a big shout out. Thank you for posting this. This is from X, but they also posted it over on their official Discord, which also feeds into our Last Standard Discord. Links in the description if you want to check it out down below. But it says, Survivors, we are actively preparing the update featuring the island region for release. You can expect to see new locations, but you won't be able to get to them on foot or on a bike. You're going to need a reliable water vehicle. If you haven't gotten one yet, worry not. One of the new Survivor's Path chapters in the upcoming update will help you assemble a motorboat. Follow the quest line, and you won't encounter any issues with the preparation. Have a nice trip. Now, here's what's pretty interesting. Let's do a little zoomy action. This looks like some updates, some changes. It's hard to say, but this is not the port, okay? We got a little tower here. This is not the port. We see some new things. We see what looks like kind of some mining things, mining materials in the back, some fences, some razor wire, some construction equipment. So this is pretty interesting. Another little sneak peek. We did a sneak peek last week talking about this as well. As I had somewhat predicted and kind of called out when they introduced and started talking about a new region, I felt like the boat was going to be a pretty integral part. I have said this comment a handful of times, but will repeat myself by saying that the boat, once you unlock it, you use it for a little bit, and it ends up not being really a vehicle you probably touch a whole lot. Outside of fixing the watchtower and getting sand to make cement that can help for Port Lab, which I would argue is a pretty kind of late game endeavor for upgrading, you're probably not doing a lot there. Now, you may be hitting sewers with some regularity, which is pretty cool. It does have some good materials. It has asbestos, which is important for your settlement progression. But outside of that, you're really not jumping into the boat. So this new region focused on the boat, focused on the islands, focused on spores, and some other things that we've seen already from some other sneak peeks and info is going to be pretty cool. It brings a new meaning to this. We're also, as it mentioned here in this post, getting a Survivor's Path chapter specifically set up for setting up the boat. It kind of walks you through it a little bit. You kind of need it. You kind of get through some of the steps, but Survivor's Path, as it sits right now, really doesn't have anything dedicated to it. It's kind of just a natural progression because you go and unlock the location and start to move forward with it. So I'm happy to see that. Let's chat a little bit more about what we see in the picture, and then I want to jump into talk about where it's going to kind of land, or where I anticipate it's going to land in the Survivor's Path. In addition to, if you don't have the boat already, what can you do to prepare? The first big tip I'll say before we get to that part is try to finish your boat. Although usually the Survivor's Path is a pretty good help forward. I don't see recipes for any of that stuff changing. It probably will just pitch you a few materials. That's pretty typical with what the Survivor's Path will do. And but we'll jump into that here in a second. So yeah, this looks like one of the new revamped either island or whatever this region is going to be called locations. I imagine they're going to be islands, but some of it may just be like across the water as well. And this is pretty interesting. Again, we saw in the sneak peek like a mine cart with materials, containers, some construction equipment, and we're getting a similar vibe here from what we can see in the picture. Again, if you want to jump over to the Discord, you can take a closer look yourself. But, you've got like a radio tower with a ladder going up it, satellite dishes. But what's really interesting is you have this chain link fence here, these big portions of fence with razor wire on the top. You can clearly see some alarms and some other things. It almost looks like it leads into these rock structures or into these areas, which is kind of what we have now, which is for mining equipment. So you head in there, you can farm titanium, ore from it with your drill. And so that's kind of interesting, kind of a revamp of that. Definitely giving a little bit more of a built-up vibe. What we have right now outside of the island watchtower is some pretty bare locations, just like bare sand locations. They're honestly not a whole lot to look at. You get some trees, you get sand, you get some stone minerals you can mine, and yeah, that's about it. So this looks really cool. I'm excited for this. I think a lot of players are pretty excited for a new region, something more to do, and new enemies they've talked about, new weapons they've talked about in their kind of pathway progression that we should be seeing. And again, we get a little bit more. Gonna need the old boat to get there. So yeah, pretty cool. If you see anything else in this picture, if you have a chance to take a look at it, let me know. Would love your additional thoughts and your speculations down below. But let's jump over and let's talk about Survivor's Path here really quick and where it's going to fall. So currently what we have is we have quite a few chapters here that this is set up. The most recent was the northern region, and then it rolls you into expeditions, and it kind of goes from there. My expectation would be is that it fits between here. It fits between the northern region and expeditions. What's interesting is you actually don't unlock the boat blueprint, that at least I can tell from any of these, right? They've really used the Survivor's Path as a way to unlock the ability to get different things, right? You're leveling up as you go. It used to be just based on level. You would unlock these blueprints. Now you have to progress through the Survivor's Path, which I think is a good way of doing it. We get Iron Warrior here, which, as you would expect, is the chopper and then the ability to build the garage. Then you get Northern Region here, which I would expect this would be kind of the end of this, would maybe be where you can do the boat, but you just don't. You must have it unlocked. Here is the manual earth drill. So like this is kind of indicating that, hey, you've unlocked the ability to make this. Now you should generally be kind of have the capability of getting over there. And right here with your new home settlement and all that stuff, you're kind of in that space where you should be unlocking it. So I expect it to settle in between Northern Region and Expeditions. For those that might be wondering, if you already have your boat complete, very likely, especially if you've progressed past a couple of these chapters, very likely when this comes out and the new Survivor's Path comes out, it's just going to auto-complete for you. That's what happened for me with a lot of these things. Not necessarily the Northern Region because it was like new content, but some revision of this in the past for some of these things with the old Survivor's Path to the transition to the new one. Anything that you had completed already, a lot of it just auto-completed. The cool part for many folks will be you get certain things unlocked as part of that, right? You may have to go do a few. Like I'm kind of envisioning it's going to be maybe a combination of both. You have the boat built already, you probably get some progress, but then there's going to be missions that you can go do with the boat that are new. The cool part though is if your boat is done and that is part of it, and that's even if that's the first 1 or 2 steps or whatever, it will auto-complete in many instances, and then you'll get those materials and access to those blueprints from that, which is pretty cool. I like that. I think that's neat. Kind of rewards the players that have been playing and already progressed past that step. But if we get some new tasks and things to go complete as well, that's pretty cool too. I'm excited for it. I really do like, I don't talk about this a lot, Survivor's Path was a really nice upgrade for the game. Like for long-time players, there really wasn't a good way to go and complete stuff. You got some general hints and some kind of guidelines, and you kind of started to figure out based on blueprints that you unlocked and as you leveled up what was important to go do, but it left it pretty vague. And I think the Survivor's Path has been a nice way of giving some resources, kind of giving you that little boost to help in the grind, but also just giving you some general direction of where you can go. Now, you can certainly do things outside of that, but you really do have to progress in the Survivor's Path, and I think it's a much better way to handle the gameplay experience. So I'm excited for a new chapter. That's where I think it's going to land. Talking about things to prepare for, if you have the capability, before this comes out, really try to finish your boat. What do you need to do that? You need pumps, You're going to need boat engines. You're going to need propellers. Those are going to be the big things that probably slow you down from being able to craft and get your boat going. I want to take a look here for the motorboat. You're going to need some steel. You're going to need some oak planks. A lot of this should be pretty easy up until this point, outside of maybe steel. Aluminum shouldn't be too bad with some of the revisions that we've seen for the northern region. A lot of times, boat engines end up being the thing that slows players down just a little bit as well, mostly because you need propellers. And so I can't just strongly recommend enough. Spend some time. Just be hitting your sewers. Frequency with your sewers, especially if you have some dogs at this point that have some buffs for rare items. Hit your sewers. Go there well prepared. Do those on the reset. Obviously, you're going to be moving along your reputation, which is helpful. That can also help with some of the materials that you can get through the trader there. But more importantly, just hit it regularly. You'll get your pumps. You will find your propellers, I promise you. And then it'll become the point after, if you keep hitting that location, which is pretty good. It's got some good materials in it, especially asbestos for those that are grinding the settlement. But as you continue to hit it, then you'll start finding more and more propellers. Then you realize you don't need the propellers, and you'll try to figure out what to do with those. So I would say strong suggestion. If you can, we don't have a release date yet. I'm going to ask this in the comments. There is no release date, but a lot of times, some folks with some experience like Cross and a handful of others in the Discord mentioned this as well. When they release a post like that, it's probably pretty close. Now, pretty close could still be a couple of weeks, could be a month. The whole walkthrough that they have, or the season plan, their pathway, had up until June, so we certainly have more time for that. Last Day on Earth's anniversary is coming up as well, so they might try to mirror it up with that. There's a lot of speculation on when it could be. It will be ready when it's ready. Usually when they post about it, they're trying to drive a little bit of hype, and hopefully we'll see it sooner rather than later. But that's how I would set up. Try to get your motorboat done. I don't know that you need to progress and do a whole lot more with the watchtowers or anything like that. If you can get that progress, you should. If you've maybe neglected the port area a bit, maybe go spend a little bit of time over there. I think there might be some benefit. We might see some other changes. I speculated on the little short that they did that the port itself is going to get a bit of a redesign. I don't think the lab part will, but I do think port itself might get a redesign, and there might be more things to do there based on what we've seen. So worthwhile now. Spend some time over there while you have it to go do that. If you don't, and you're not there yet, don't worry. You'll just progress through the survivor's path as you normally do, and I think that will be helpful. One of the other things that I do want to comment on that I think is going to be important is finding a way to get a decent little stockpile of gas masks. Now, why do I say this? Because spores and infections and those types of related effects, we have heard and seen a little bit in other sneak peeks, that's going to be a decent component for this newest area, this newest region. And that lines up really nicely. If you've had the chance to do any port lab runs, you know that infections and that kind of stuff is part of those locations. So it makes a lot of sense. If you can, start working on stockpiling some gas masks. There might be some resources. I'm not going to say similar to, but we've seen some need for farming resources in the swamp for gas masks. So it might make sense to have some, and until we either figure out better ways to do it, or maybe they introduce something else. And that could be, that's just a, I'm speculating there again, but it could be a way that we find helpful. That also would make sense as we see maybe hazmat armor becomes a little bit more helpful. Seaburn combat armor, which obviously you can't craft, also has built-in gas masks as well. So if you have the opportunity to farm that set, it's probably going to be one of the best. It's one of the best armors in the game, but it's probably going to be really good for handling that. Interestingly enough, the Raider armor, I just realized, is a full face mask with looks like to be a gas mask inside of it, but it is not. You got some venting here. I don't know. Could be built in. Maybe not. It's not, but it could be. It's interesting. Anyways, so Seaburn combat armor, hazmat armor. If you have the opportunity to do some port runs and some lab runs, get your lockers opened up. I think that's a really good source for it. Go hit your crane, get your sunken treasure chests. That usually has a few pieces of armor in it as well. And then you can head over to Bunker Alpha, and you can do a little bit of farming of the crates over there and pick you up some gas masks. I really do think, if I had to put my best guess on anything, I do think that these are going to become pretty important, at least initially, for helping to work through those locations and clear them out. So a little bit of preparation beforehand. It's probably pretty good. Equipped with a personal air supply system, right? So hazmat armors, again, probably worthwhile to have and to hang on to. And I don't think I was looking for something else. So other than that, prepare your resources. We should get some new resources. Again, they talked about new guns, new enemies, new boss as well, so it'll be a little bit interesting. A little speculation on if it's going to have anything to do with genomes or not. I have a feeling that it's going to be separate. I also wouldn't be surprised if the boss maybe filters to that, but then that would talk about like an expansion of the genome store, and I don't know. I guess we'll see. That's, I think, really up in the air. It could definitely go one of two ways. We could also, again, see with a port kind of, revamp and rebuild and restructure, that there might be more to do at the port, more traders, maybe rep goes farther. Could be some interesting things to think about from that perspective. So that's some initial thoughts. The hype is starting to get real. Very, very excited for this next major update. I know the most recent short-term limited Easter event did not go well, but hopefully with major content, it usually is obviously able to be grinded, and I think that's going to be nice. Bring some new Survivors Pass stuff in, some new resources, some new workbench upgrades, some other storage options as well, and hopefully those are achievable maybe through Survivors Path. Imagine being able to build some of that stuff. That'd be pretty cool with new resources. I don't think any of that's off the table. Or again, maybe expansion to the genome store, and might be worthwhile farming up some of those points as well. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. That's the info we have. No release date as of yet, but as soon as we know, you will know. We'll make sure to post it over on our Discord, socials, all that good stuff. And if we get some good sneak peek info, we'll definitely do some deep dives and chat about it as well. As always, thanks for watching. I'm going to wrap this one up. Lots of fun Last Day on Earth content to go over this week, so be sure to stay tuned. And yeah, hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 10K. We're steadily moving that way. Discord is growing. We really do appreciate all the support. Links for all that stuff in the description. Come join us. We'd love to have you. We just started a Last Day on Earth resources channel, which we're going to continue to add to, and I hope to be here in the next couple of months a very good resource for folks as we continue to do deep dives on different topics and other community-fed resources as well. So if you have anything you want to participate with and add to that, I'd love to share it with our community here. And yeah, close it out. We'll wrap it up. Have a good rest of the day. Catch you in the next video. Peace.